There's a 5-gallon bucket sitting on my apartment balcony right now in full July sun in 92-degree heat. Most of the flower pots on my floor gave up weeks ago. The petunias down the hall look like they lost a fight. But this bucket is pushing out new green vines so fast I can nearly watch it happen, and the plant inside it started as a $3 item from the grocery store produce aisle, the kind most folks boil and forget. Here's what surprises everybody who visits my balcony in the summer. July, the month when gardeners everywhere hang it up for the year, is actually one of the best planting months on the whole calendar, as long as you pick crops that love the heat. Today, I'm going to walk you through 10 of them. Every single one works in a container on a balcony, a patio, or a sunny windowsill, and most of them cost a couple of dollars or less to start. And stay with me all the way to number 10, because that is the crop growing in my bucket, and it actually grows faster planted in July than in April. The reason comes down to one specific thing hot soil does that nobody ever explains. I'm Jake, though most folks know me as Backyard Buddy. 3 years ago, I was the guy who killed houseplants, including a cactus, which takes real commitment. Then, one Tuesday evening, a bunch of green onion ends I tossed at the trash can missed, landed in a glass of water, and sprouted 3 days later. Since then, I have regrown hundreds of plants from kitchen scraps on my windowsills and balcony, and my grocery bill has dropped by nearly a third. My neighbor Gloria, a retired school teacher 2 floors up, has been growing on her balcony for 20 years, and she taught me half of what I know. Now, before we get to the list, let me clear up the July myth, because it kept me from planting for a whole summer. The garden centers push everything in April. By July, the seed racks get shoved into a back corner, and everybody talks like the season is over. But warm soil is a seed's best friend. A bean seed that takes 2 weeks to sprout in chilly April dirt will pop up in 5 days in July. 5 days. On top of that, those forgotten July seed racks go on clearance, so the cheapest seeds of the whole year are sitting at the garden center right now, sometimes for 50 cents a packet. And here's the part that matters most for folks like us. Crops planted in July come ripe in September and October, right when grocery prices do their fall climb, so every container you start this week is money staying in your pocket this fall. Keep that bucket of mine in the back of your mind as we go, because the hot soil reason behind it is the difference between number 10 thriving and number 10 rotting. And I promise the answer is worth the wait. So grab some paper and a pencil if you like taking notes, because we are going to move through these nice and easy, one at a time. Now, the way I learned to grow all of this with no yard and no experience is the exact system I wrote down in a book called The 30-Day Kitchen Scrap Garden Protocol. 0 waste. 0 experience. Free food. It is 172 pages, written for absolute beginners, in the same friendly walk-you-through-it style we use here every week. Inside, you get 31 regrowable crops, each with its own plain instructions for regrowing from scraps. You get the $10 starter kit, gathered from things you mostly already own. You get the 30-day, day-by-day plan that takes you from your first glass of water to your first harvests. And you get full troubleshooting support for when a scrap decides to sulk. It costs $17, marked down from $47, and my own grocery bill dropping by nearly a third paid that back inside the first month. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up, give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you are watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time. There is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. All right, buddy. Pencil ready. Number 1, bush beans. If you want the fastest win on this whole list, this is it. Bush beans are the friendly kind of bean. No poles, no 6-foot teepees, just a tidy little plant about 18 inches tall that sits happily in a container. And beans adore warm soil. A packet of bush bean seeds at the garden center costs about $2, and that packet holds enough seeds for a whole summer of plantings. Here's how you plant them. Take a 5-gallon bucket or a window box or any container with holes in the bottom for drainage. Fill it with regular potting mix from the hardware store. Push each seed 1 inch down into the soil. 1 inch, about to your first knuckle. Space the seeds 3 inches apart. Water them gently, and then water every morning while this heat is on. In July soil, those beans will be up and waving at you in about 5 days, and you'll be picking green beans in roughly 50 days. That puts fresh beans on your plate in early September, when a pound of green beans at the grocery store runs $2 to $3. 1 bucket of bush beans on my balcony last year gave me picking after picking for weeks. And if you have never grown one single thing in your life, start here, because beans forgive almost every beginner mistake. That handles the fastest crop on the list. But it leaves you with a question: what about something you can slice into a salad? That brings us to a crop most folks assume needed to go in back in May. Number 2, cucumbers. Everybody thinks cucumbers are a spring planting, and for the long vining kinds, sure, May is easier. But the seed racks are full of fast bush cucumber varieties that go from seed to fruit in about 50 to 55 days. And in warm July, soil the seeds sprout in under a week. Plant them the same way as the beans. 1 container, 5 gallons if you can manage it. 2 seeds, planted 1 inch deep. When they both sprout, snip the weaker one at the soil line and keep the stronger. If your balcony has a railing, set the pot beside it and let the vine climb the railing like a free trellis, which is exactly what mine does every summer. Now here's the one rule with hot weather cucumbers, and I want you to remember it: steady water. Steady water every single day, because a cucumber plant that dries out and then gets soaked will give you bitter fruit, and nobody wants that. A layer of straw or even shredded newspaper on top of the soil keeps the moisture from baking off. Do that, and by September, you are pulling crisp cucumbers off your own railing while the grocery store charges $1.50 a piece for the fancy ones. Once that pot is planted, the next crop on the list will not cost you a seed packet at all, because you are going to grow it out of something already sitting in your refrigerator. Number 3, basil, straight from a grocery store cutting. Gloria taught me this one, and it still feels like a magic trick. Basil is a heat lover. While lettuce faints in July, basil throws a party. And you do not need seeds. Buy one of those $3 plastic clamshells of fresh basil from the produce aisle, or use a bunch you already have. Pick out a nice stem 5 or 6 inches long. Look along the stem for the little bumps where leaves grow out. Those bumps are called nodes, and a node is simply the spot where a plant knows how to make new parts. Snip the stem cleanly just below a node. Pull off the lower leaves and stand the stem in a glass of water on a sunny windowsill. Change the water every 2 days so it stays fresh. In 7 to 10 days, you will see white roots reaching out into the water. 7 to 10 days, that is all. When those roots are about an inch long, plant the cutting in a small pot of potting mix, keep it watered, and set it in the sun. 1 $3 clamshell can turn into 4 or 5 basil plants, and each plant keeps producing all the way to the first frost. Pinch off any flower buds you see, because flowers tell the plant to quit making leaves. That is fresh basil for tomato sauce and salads from now through October, from something you were going to eat anyway. And speaking of plants that get enormous, this next one comes with a July advantage that almost nobody talks about. Number 4, zucchini. Yes, the same zucchini your neighbors with gardens beg you to take off their hands in August. Planting it in July sounds backwards, but there is a genuine reason July zucchini often does better than spring zucchini. There is a pest called the squash vine borer, a moth that lays its eggs on squash stems in early summer. And those eggs are the reason so many gorgeous June zucchini plants collapse overnight. By the time a July planting is up and growing, the worst of that egg-laying season has already passed in most of the country. So the late planter quietly slips past the trouble. Zucchini needs the biggest container on today's list. 5 gallons is the minimum, and a 10-gallon tub is even better. Plant 2 seeds 1 inch deep, keep the stronger seedling, and give it the sunniest corner of the balcony or patio. Water deeply every day in this heat, right at the base of the plant. In about 50 days, you will get your first squash, and one healthy plant will feed you silly through the fall. My first zucchini plant lived in a storage tub I bought for $6, and it outproduced my grocery budget's entire squash line for 2 months. Now, that covers the big feeder. The next one is the crop that started this whole channel, and it is the cheapest food you will ever grow. Number 5. Green onions. You knew this was coming, buddy. This is the one that fell in a glass of water on my counter 3 years ago and changed everything. It costs $1.99, it works in any month of the year, and July heat does not bother it one bit as long as the water is there. Buy 1 bunch of green onions at the grocery store. Use the green tops for dinner like you always do. Keep the white root ends, about 2 inches of them. Stand those root ends, roots down, in a glass with 1 inch of water. 1 inch, no more, because the tops want to breathe. Set the glass on a windowsill that gets sun. Change the water every 2 days. In 3 days, you will see new green shoots rising out of the cut ends, growing out of what was headed for the trash. After a week, plant them 1 inch deep in a pot of soil, and they will keep producing green onions for months. Cut what you need, and they grow back. That's not garbage, that's groceries. And every bunch you never buy again is another $1.99 that stays in your pocket, week after week after week. Now, remember that bucket on my balcony, the one growing like the heat is feeding it. What is happening under the soil in that bucket is the exact same thing that makes this next crop the happiest plant in America every July. Number 6, okra. If you are in the South, you already know. And if you are up north, let me introduce you to the one vegetable that genuinely enjoys a heat wave. Okra is happiest at 90 degrees. When the lettuce is gone and the spinach is a memory, okra is just getting warmed up, and July is prime planting time for it almost everywhere in the country. The seeds have a hard coat, so give them a head start. Put the seeds in a cup of water on the counter and let them soak overnight. Just overnight, then plant the next morning. 1 plant per 5-gallon bucket, seed pushed 1 inch into the soil in the hottest, sunniest spot you have. In warm July soil, it sprouts in about a week and grows fast. Now, the harvesting rule matters, so here it is twice. Pick the pods when they are 3 inches long. 3 inches, about the length of your finger, because past 4 inches, they turn tough and woody. Check the plant every day or 2 once it starts producing, and the more you pick, the more it makes, right up until fall. Fried okra, gumbo, roasted okra with a little salt, all from a bucket that loves the exact weather everybody else complains about. So that handles the heat lover. The next crop is the opposite trick, a cool weather favorite that you plant in the heat on purpose. Number 7. Carrots, planted now for a fall harvest. This is my favorite kind of gardening arithmetic. Carrot seeds go in during July, the roots do their growing through August and September, and then the cool nights of October arrive, and something wonderful happens. Cold weather makes a carrot convert its starch into sugar, so fall carrots taste noticeably sweeter than spring ones. Here's the setup. You need a container at least 12 inches deep, because the carrot itself needs room to stretch down. 12 inches, measure it. Fill it with loose potting mix, no rocks, no lumps. Sprinkle the seeds on top and cover them with a 1/4 inch of soil, just a dusting. Now, carrot seeds have one weakness in July, and it is that they cannot dry out even once while sprouting, or they quit. So here's the old trick. Water the container, then lay a damp towel or a scrap board flat over the soil to hold the moisture in. Lift it once a day and take a peek. The moment you see the first thin green sprouts, take the cover off for good and let the sun in. That usually takes about a week to 10 days. When the seedlings are up, thin them so each one has an inch of space. Come October, you will be pulling sweet carrots out of a pot on the patio while the store charges more every week. Now, before you go grab a towel and a seed packet, there is one stop at the garden center that will save you even more than seeds do. Number 8. Peppers. And here's the thrifty part. You are not starting these from seed at all. July is too late to seed peppers, but it is the perfect month to rescue them. Every garden center in the country has a clearance rack in July, full of perfectly healthy pepper transplants they could not sell in spring, marked down to half price or less. I have carried home sturdy bell pepper and jalapeno plants for $1.50 apiece. And peppers are heat lovers, real ones. They set fruit happily through July, August, and September, and they will keep producing until frost. Bring your rescue plant home and move it into a bigger pot, 3 to 5 gallons, with fresh potting mix. Set it in full sun. Water it deeply every single day while the heat is on, a slow soak until water runs out the bottom. That deep daily drink is the whole secret with container peppers in summer. Feed it every couple of weeks with whatever basic vegetable fertilizer the hardware store sells, following the label. By late August, you will be picking peppers that cost $1 or more a piece at the grocery store, off a plant somebody else gave up on. There is something fitting about that, a marked-down plant nobody wanted, filling a dinner plate. 2 crops left now, and we are almost back to that bucket. But first, the leafy green that refuses to quit. Number 9. Swiss chard. Every summer I hear the same complaint, that you cannot grow salad greens in the heat, and for lettuce that is mostly true. Lettuce bolts, turns bitter, and gives up by the 4th of July. Swiss chard just keeps going. It is the leafy green that shrugs at 90 degrees, and it is happy in a container. Sow the seeds a half-inch deep, about 2 inches apart, in any pot 8 inches deep or more. Keep the soil moist, and they will sprout in about a week in this warmth. When the seedlings get going, thin them to 4 inches apart. Then comes the part that makes chard such a good deal. You never harvest the whole plant. You cut the outer leaves, the big ones, and leave the center alone, and the center keeps making new leaves for months. Cut and come again, all through the fall, and chard even takes a light frost without complaint, so this planting feeds you into November in most of the country. Use the young leaves like spinach in a salad, and cook the big ones like greens with a little bacon if you are feeling fancy. One $2 packet. Months of greens. And now, buddy, it is time. The bucket on my balcony, the crop that grows faster in July than in April, and the one thing hot soil does that makes it all work. Number 10. Sweet potatoes, grown from one single grocery store sweet potato. Here is the whole method first, and then the reason, because the reason is the part I promised you. Buy one sweet potato from the produce aisle, about $3, organic if you can find it, since some are treated to stop sprouting. Lay it on its side in a shallow pan, half buried in damp potting mix, on a warm, sunny windowsill. Keep the mix damp, and in 2 to 3 weeks, little shoots called slips will rise up out of the potato, each one a whole future plant. When a slip is 6 inches long, hold it at the base and twist it gently off the potato. Stand those slips in a glass of water, and in July they will grow roots in just a few days. Then plant each rooted slip in its own 5-gallon bucket of loose potting mix, water it in, and let the vines run over the balcony rail all summer. Around late October, 90 to 100 days after planting, you tip the bucket over and pull out a harvest of sweet potatoes. One potato becomes a dozen or more. Now, the payoff. Why does this crop grow faster planted in July than in April? Because the sweet potato is a tropical plant, and its roots take their marching orders from soil temperature, not from the calendar. In soil below about 65 degrees, a slip simply stalls. It sits there, refuses to root, and in cool, damp dirt, it usually rots before it ever gets started, which is exactly what happens to the eager folks who plant in April, when container soil is still in the 50s. But a dark container sitting in July sun holds soil at 80 degrees and more. And at 80 degrees, the slip gets the one signal it has been waiting for and throws out roots in about 3 days. That is the one thing hot soil does. It flips the switch cool soil cannot flip. The heat everybody curses in July is the exact engine this plant runs on, which is why the worst month for petunias is the best month for that bucket on my balcony. And that is the whole idea, one scrap at a time. The book walks you through 31 crops just like that, day by day, starting with things that are in your kitchen tonight. The 30-day kitchen scrap garden protocol is $17, one time, marked down from $47, against a grocery bill that keeps dropping every single week after, the same way mine dropped by nearly a third. And since we are already in July, starting the 30 days now means your first harvest land right on schedule this fall. If I can do this, I promise you can. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up, give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you are watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time. There is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. So that is the July 10. Beans, cucumbers, basil, zucchini, green onions, okra, carrots, peppers, chard, and one sweet potato in a warm bucket. Tell me in the comments the first scrap you're going to regrow or the one you've already got going on the windowsill. I read every single one. And next time, I'm going to show you the $2 piece of ginger from the grocery store that turned into a whole windowsill crop at my place, including the one overnight soak you have to do first or it will never sprout. Don't throw it away, grow it. I'll see you next time, buddy.